Well, didn't fade that in as well. But welcome to episode 8 of At the Tavern. I'm Tyler.
I'm Patrick.
And our guest tonight is Dover from Randover Games.
Or as I call him, Ben.
Hey, either one is completely acceptable. Thank you very much for having me on, guys.
No problem, man. Good to have you on again. We always have fun when you're here.
Not that we don't have fun with our other guests.
I didn't say that.
Just saying.
Yeah, it was heavily implied, and I understand.
Didn't mean to imply.
That's
all
what
right,
happens
cool.
when you're sick.
So we got some stuff to talk about this week. Interesting things. First of all, start about hashtag Spicy Games on Twitter to ask us questions. We'll get to them at the end.
You can also ask us questions on our YouTube,
Or
Facebook,
or on the thread on Reddit I put it up.
or that too.
So STG updates. We have given you the lore on the last faction. I know, Ben, I know you were interested in the dwarves last time. What did you think? Did you get a chance to look at them over?
Yeah, I did. I've really enjoyed the direction you guys have gone with all the lore on it. I've been fussing with lore on my game too, and so like I do have a question. I got a question for you. You can answer this, right? So the one thing that is really awesome about the lore from all the factions actually, and if you guys are listening to this and you haven't read all of the histories or the fluff that they're working with, please go over to Space Tavern Games and check it out. But where are you coming up with your names? Where are you coming up with your names? Like, your names are friggin' crazy. There's, like, you just have, like, a crazy dictionary. Are you playing Boggle? Like, where are you coming up with the names?
Okay, so I'm going to give away my secret here. It's not really even a secret.
I was just gonna say we got drunk really good one time, and we were sitting around staring at the stars.
No,
and that totally didn't happen. But
anyway, what I used to do, and what I still do sometimes, it depends on what I'm looking for, is I know how I want characters to, like, I know how I want their names to sound. Not necessarily what they are, but I know how I want them to sound. Like, I want them to flow a certain way. So what I do is I smack my keyboard. I just give it a good smack. I'll start with, like, the letter I want, and I'll give it a good smack. I'll look at it, I'll start adding vowels, and I'll start sounding it out until I can come up with something that really flows really nicely. That's usually how I name everything that I do.
it's true. I've seen him do it.
Yeah, it's just give it a good smack.
That is brilliantly chaotic. I love it. That's fantastic. Like, I always find myself falling into the trap of fitting into some sort of some sort of vein. Like, everything will lean Latin, or everything will lean
Tolkien.
Old English, or everything will lean something or other. But just starting off with the consonant or vowel, I guess. Starting off with the sound and then working your way. Why not?
That's how I build. That's just how I build character names and place names and things like that. Because to me, if you don't put attention into every little detail, then why do it? You know?
Have you run into any issues with that? Like, have you ever accidentally created the same name like 7 times in a row just because you're right-handed and you always happen to hit the K or something?
Not usually, actually.
He's an artist.
I'm an artist, so I
didn't mean it like that.
I never mix my. Anyway, I try to keep it fresh. If I'm stuck even after doing the thing smack, I'll look up a draconic translator and look up names and just get some ideas on how things, how different things sound.
Or you also do a lot of like Gaelic and.
Yeah, I just look up words in different languages and stuff. Inspiration's all around you. You're just gonna find it.
Yeah.
So.
As a guy who's named all of his animals after Gaelic names or things like that, I understand. Yeah, sometimes you got to break out the old languages or even fictional languages. Like some of the cards in ours are named after or are amalgamations of words from Tolkien languages, from Aragon, the newer book that came out a little while ago, the Dragon book. So, but all mine are kind of rooted in something. It's unique to actually, because that kind of boggle approach actually works. That's hilarious.
I also, a side note, I love Erica.
That's a good
It's
book
a great
series.
series. Really upset how it ended, but that's a story for a different day.
Morpheus also has an artist.
Yes, we've now recruited an artist.
That's fantastic.
Preliminary character sketches of. Well, I hope to release at least part of.
One of them. We'll have one of them for sure this week.
Yeah.
The other one she's still working on.
Yeah.
Erilyn Taylor, that's her name. She doesn't have any pages that I know of dedicated to like her artwork yet. We're actually working with her on that as part of like our services thing that we offer. We're like, we'll do some work for you and get you like set up social media wise if you give us some artwork, and we'll get your name out there. So that's what we're doing.
So you're working with a. I mean, she's a non-published artist.
Right.
Dude, that's so cool. Actually, that's the two titles we're working on are two games that are rushing towards Kickstarter. One of them is from an unpublished artist also, and we're doing the same general idea with her. It's very much kind of a the sum of the sum in working out the process is also us endorsing her and being like, all right, we're going to show off your work. We're going to say, when we go to conventions, if people like the game, if they like the art, we're going to throw all the crazy attention your way. So there's some play back and forth between that. So the building a page for him, that's awesome.
I mean, if she needs help with that type of stuff too, let us know. We'll work for her just because you guys are.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've got a couple different artists that we're working with, 3 artists that we're working with at the moment, and 2 of them are kind of old hat. They kind of know the internet backwards and forwards. And this other one, she's I think she's in her early 20s, and she's just kind of getting her feet wet in the whole idea. So I'm sure that a website will be needed eventually. I don't even think she's on DeviantArt or anything like that, actually.
Wow. Well, like I said, if she needs help, just have her drop us a line, and we'll work for her.
Yeah. What's really interesting is now that the factions are done, I'm going to be talking about the play that I'm working with as well that goes alongside of this.
You're going to be focusing on more.
Focusing on
stories.
Yeah, I'm focusing on like deep fluff lore stuff. Now that you have the stuff of the factions,
basically like the tower that you talked about.
Yeah, I did a whole big section of lore on where the Zenith Tower comes from and why it's important.
That was a really good read.
Yeah, if you haven't read that, you should probably should. Just saying.
So how many words are you at now? Like how much fluff have you actually created at this point? Do you even know?
Probably a really good small book.
Yeah, probably a decent novella.
Yeah.
At least word wise, but I mean, flow wise, it would just be two story, all of the factions, and then what I have done of the play.
There's a few other things in there.
Some other things I've been working on, yeah.
Like the Tavern and some other things.
So the goal is to publish the play alongside of all of the lore and everything else, so that the play is like for people who want to play the game or are interested in the fluff of the game, you have all that stuff there, and then for people and then the play is just kind of there for a little bonus thing, that kind of thing, and then it works the other way around too, where all of the lore gives background for the play, the world of the play and stuff like that. So
right, actually we're doing not a play. I'm not theatrical in any way, shape, or form. God help me, no. But we're doing I'm building a lot of backstories. There's actually a tease on the site, which is a tease that I can get for you guys too. Very soon, I'm going to start building out a short story.
Get us first.
It's on the site, dude.
It's disheartening.
It's on the site, dude.
I don't care.
Give us the tease.
There you go. So we're building short stories out for each one of the monsters. The big point in our big game, Coelium, is that they're central monsters that you're fighting, and it's all cooperative, so everyone's battling against a single target. And what I'm going to do is I'm building out short stories where each one of those monsters are talked about by one of the characters in a sort of like a fishtail sort of way. Like this guy went off and caught this giant fish. It's the same thing, but it's this fighter went off and dealt with this giant hydra. Or this minotaur or whatever. And so I'm building that kind of peripheral lore that goes alongside it. So it's completely irrelevant to the game if you just want to play the game. But if you want to dive in, if you want to grab a chunk of something more, you can jump on there and get that. And I've been impressed with how the volume of stuff that you've been able to put out so far. My head just kind of swims when I start dealing with all the different things that I'm looking at dealing with. And so, like, everything kind of gets backburnered. So that's why I put that post up last week. It was very much this whole, all right, if I put it out there, someone's going to have to hold me to it. So, like, I finally put my feet to the fire, so I have to start working.
He holds me to it.
Some days I feel like I have a gun.
I'm a writer now, so all I have in my head are stories and ideas and things like that. But, you know, like everybody else, I have a problem just doing it. So it happens to be nice that we sit right next to each other. It keeps me on top of my shit. So
You also keep mine.
I keep him on top of his stuff too. So
two-way street.
Yes, it's a two-way street. So that's it for Morpheus for now.
Well, we posted a War Machine Tactics review.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
All right. I get to jump in when you guys are doing a review. This is where I get to have fun because I can kind of reverse interview you guys, so I can get you guys to spit it up. So, all right. So first off, what I want to know, I mean, if you guys can bring the review down to like a snippets, but like overall, just before you get into the nitpickies, what's your? I mean, you guys didn't really put you guys really aren't doing a score thing, like, you know, or I guess you are at the end. So what is your, Tyler? Why did you give it a 6 and
Well, a 6 out of 10 is still failing by any grade standards at the 60%, because that's exactly how much of the game feels done, about 60%.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and I understand it's a Kickstarter game, and I understand they're still working on it all the time, but it is definitely not worth the $40 price tag that is on it right now. The multiplayer, if you know who you're playing against, I mean, we haven't done a lot of open online multiplayer yet, but multiplayer between us has been fun. So it just doesn't feel like a complete game. I mean, I'd pay if the game was like $10, I'd be happy with it. But for $40, I don't think it's worth the $40 price tag. So if you're interested in playing War Machine Tactics, wait on it.
Find a friend that has it.
Yeah, and Patrick, you gave it a 5, so you even thought a little bit less of it than that. Is it kind of the same sentiments, or do you have different feelings on it?
I've been grinding away at the campaign. Like, at first, I was like, man, this is fun. It's fast-paced. You know, I get to click my unit, I get to see my dice roll, and then I get to see it play out. And then it's like, this stupid single Winter Guard just murdered my Jack. Like, no. No. Not possible. Maybe a 1 in a million.
Maybe a horde of Winter Guard.
Yeah, no, it was just one. One little dude with a freaking axe and a blunderbuss, and he wasn't able to shoot, obviously. It's base-to-base contact, if you counted that. And I mean, and it auto faces your guys. I mean, you're moving forward, why would you stop and turn around? It's just so frustrating. I mean, I will literally get sick of just staring at this game, and I will shut my computer and go away. I will go find something more productive to do. And it's just aggravating. You spend an hour on a level, and then you die, and you have to start the whole level over again.
No checkpoints.
No checkpoints, no mid-game saving or anything like that?
Nope, and you can't change the difficulty. It's on, like, extreme or something.
Here's how I feel the level design itself is... I don't know, in a strategy game, it feels like... Especially
it's a forced level design.
Yeah, it's a puzzle game. It's not even a strategy game. It's a puzzle game. The only way to win each level is to do it a specific way.
You have to figure out: do I run here or do I fight here? Do I run here? Do I fight here? Do I set my guys up along a firing line? Do I space them out? Do I attack one guy at once? And then the game will automatically decide. Like, there's this one level against not Cater, but Meneth. Yeah, whatever. And so by turn 5, it automatically kills the guys you're trying to rescue. Like, no rhyme or reason. I sat my dudes out in the woods where it said you're invisible from the bad guys here, and waited 5 turns, and it auto killed him anyways. Like, no detection, no nothing. It just automatically killed him. I was like, great.
That is such. I mean, I don't know enough about the game. I'm speaking out of turn here with in regards to that. But with that one scenario right there, it just seems like shoddy, mod crafting in the sense that if you're going to do that, like if you want to have a five turn limit, like if that's important to their goal, then put in fast units that can detect stealth. Like, give a reason for them to find you. Give a reason for them to seek you out or something, not just a sniper from the heavens takes you out or something. That's insane.
It's just aggravating.
If you're going to make a game that needs to be beat in a certain amount of turns, the game needs to be beatable in a certain amount of turns.
Not like 1 in a million.
Do it the way it needs to be done, and then hope and pray that you're
doing it the right
way. You know, like you can follow strategy guides and things like that, but there is
no strategy guide to this game. No one's been able to beat it. Like 1% of the people who own this game have all the achievements / missions done. I've looked. I was like, man, I'm so screwed trying to figure this out.
So, and I have to touch on this a little bit too. Like I talked a little bit about the story. I mean, like I said, when we were talking a little bit off air. War Machine doesn't, or I should say Private Press, their storylines and stuff, like I don't really follow them like for their league play and things like that.
We don't have their books either.
Okay.
Like, we have Mark 1.
Yeah, but I just like when they do the leagues and stuff at local game stores and stuff like that. I never really followed the story. I just wanted to play War Machine, and
right.
That's partially because the stories aren't really that interesting, to me at least, because I don't know, they don't feel as important as just playing the game. So the story for this game is exactly like that. You know, you're at war. That's what War Machine is. That everybody's at war with each other for one reason or another. But the biggest problem and the biggest thing that pisses me off the most is that they had a chance to make a very, very strong female protagonist and they completely botched it.
She's whiny.
After
refuses to do anything.
All the shit that people get and give out about female characters not being strong enough or female characters not being like not being as independent or not being as accepted as male protagonists, they completely botched it. Like
they had so many other better female characters to choose from than this journeyman warcaster, like Kara Sloan, Allison J. No, that's
the main character.
Sorry.
Haley, Catherine Lattimore. Catherine Lattimore is probably the strongest female character in the fluff, at least out of the fluff. She's one of the strongest female characters I know. Her father is a treasonous bastard who hasn't been convicted yet, and she's out fighting for the Signar military to reclaim her name. Yeah. That's badass. She's the
mounted,
the dragoon or whatever it is for Signar.
Cavalry.
It's unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate that they have these awesome archetypes inside of their lore or their fluff already, and then they go to make a new one. I'm assuming this is a new one, right? She doesn't exist anywhere else.
She's new specifically for this game. She's available in the game, in the tabletop now.
Yeah, because of this game.
But yeah.
I wonder if her stats are as pathetic as her personality. I'm sorry, I haven't played the game, but like that seems ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna make a hallmark of having strong characters in a battle game, why put?
Yeah. And Private Press has always done strong characters. Like they've always mix them very well. For every army, always has strong female characters. Maybe not necessarily like their pieces aren't as strong, but the lore and their personalities. Yeah, their personalities in the lore of the world are always really strong. They're always strong and independent.
I'm sorry.
Let me finish my rant. They're always strong and independent. And then there's Allison Jakes, who's a journeyman warcaster who does nothing but complain.
Well, she was a journeyman.
She was a journeyman. She's now a full warcaster.
She's now a warcaster getting ready to be given her own unit. Yeah. That's what the whole thing is.
And all she does is complain. You're doing a mission where it's pretty much covert, where you're using her battle group, which is just a lancer and a charger, and you're going in to like break open these gates or whatever. And it's supposed to be covert. It's supposed to be just her and Sturgis, who's actually a pretty cool character, simply because he treats Allison the way that she should be treated, which is like a whiny 5-year-old. But they're doing this covert mission, and she does like, why don't we bring an army? Why don't we bring an army? It's a covert mission. You're going to cost thousands of blood. It's just like, there's no way you graduated from the military academy of Signar with thoughts like that. It just bothers me so much that it ruined.
And that's the character you're actually playing, right? I mean, that's you, right?
Yeah,
that must be even worse, because if you've got a poor character that's like not logical and stupid, but it's an NPC, at the very least you can kind of roll your eyes and say, oh, that's a stupid NPC. But if this character's supposed to represent you, your avatar in the game is saying things that you think is stupid. That seems a little.
There's not many games that let you play as a female protagonist. Like, I mean, you got Skyrim and stuff where you can choose your sex, whatever. But there's not many games that tell you that you
was Portal female. Yeah,
Portal's female.
Gotcha.
Then there's Bayonetta, which is like, I guess that's really.
I mean, that's kind of sexist.
But there's not many games with the ability to have that chance to have a very strong female protagonist that guys can especially douchey guys could really get behind. Like I really was really rooting that this character was gonna be good and strong and all these other things, but she just really just let me down.
And the mechanics are broken.
Yeah, they're very broken. Like I don't understand how my Lancer does 2 damage every turn, but they keep doing 7 or 8 or 9 or multiples. I just don't understand.
Not only that, but you also have. You kill the enemy Warcaster, and their Jack is still trying to fight you. And
that's just not how the game works.
Yeah, no, you kill the Warcaster, the Jack becomes just a hunk of metal.
Yeah.
Cooking steam.
So.
Yeah, it kind of sounds a lot like the development studio that they have making this game. I mean, obviously a different set of guys.
Or two with
but you think they'd have more console
bugs.
Yeah, they're really crapping the bed on this one, I think. The saving grace of the game is the multiplayer. The only reason that game is playable.
List creator.
The list creator is weird.
But it's fun.
It's fun. You have to pay for each individual model, where in the tabletop you buy either half the unit or the whole unit for a set amount of points instead of just each individual model.
Unit, like
yeah. So it's weird. That's I mean, I feel like Privateer Press really didn't either demo them very well on the game, or they just didn't even play very much as research. It's like if I was a developer for this game, especially a story writer or anything like that, I would have been playing and reading and playing and reading and playing and reading.
This.
Yeah.
There's no reason this game should come out how it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of money.
I would have sacrificed a lot of the reach. Like a lot of the reach goals were to bring in other factions and things to make them playable for like the online multiplayer. But I would have gladly sacrificed time on getting those out,
like Mercenaries.
On getting a good story out there, because this game, for people who've never played this tabletop game, you are now setting up
like the portal into getting into the tabletop game or Iron Kingdoms.
Yeah, and it's just you're shooting yourself in the foot with it, because the game is near impossible to beat to begin with. And if people eventually go into their local game store and they're going to see people playing War Machine, they're going to be like, "Oh, I don't play that crappy game. I played Tactics. It sucked."
Yeah, and then they're going to be like, "Dude, Tactics is horrible. Play the tabletop." And they'll be like, "No way.
No way. I won't give it a chance." And then
play Warhammer.
So they really, I just don't think they lived up to the expectation that they just didn't live up to giving the game a good name.
No.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
At all.
So anyway, enough about that.
We have a new review coming out this Friday about Spy Guys that was sent to us from our open call. It's a really fun card game.
It plays really quick.
And
oh my god,
it's really addictive.
We had the designer Conrad on last week. So if Conrad, if you're watching this was so much fun because it took us a little bit to figure out how to set it up.
3 turns.
It took me a bit to figure out how to set it up because of the way some of the wording is in the rulebook, but I figured it out. And then it took us 3 turns to figure out how to play the game. And then after that, we were totally screwing each other over the whole time. It was awesome.
And drinking beer.
So there was also that.
And
is this game actually on the market now, or is it?
Link in there will be a link in the review on where you can buy it from Victory Point's website.
Yep.
It's $13.99, I think.
Well worth it.
Well, definitely well worth it.
It's family friendly too.
Family friendly, party friendly. It's for ages 8 and up.
It's fun.
Anybody.
That's great. That's fantastic. Like that's the type of game that you want to see for that price point. And the type of thing where you can throw a few bucks at it. It's something you can take with you. You can travel. That's the entire game in that package, right?
Yeah. The entire thing's there.
Rule book's right behind it. It's the backing piece. It's the rule book. It's really small. It's not complicated.
Yeah, all you need is a table and I think it's up to 6 people.
Three players or more, but
yeah, he's
no, we can't talk about that.
Well, there's development for more expansions onto the game coming out. So.
Yeah, that's about all we're allowed to say.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. That's really cool. So you guys are going to post that up later this week?
It's on Friday.
Friday is like our review day. Sometimes Thursday if we have more than one thing we're reviewing that week.
Yeah, I caught some of the episode 7 of At the Tavern. So a little bit of him talking, kind of going down the row of where he thought, like Spy versus Spy originally, and then going into a little faster pace and a little less on that. And yeah, it seems really interesting. So I'm curious to see what you guys have heard about.
Traps and everything, they're a lot of fun to lay down, and watching other people's reaction, taking your opponent's contact hostage, like I did a couple dozen times. And they're like, how will I ever get that back? I can't win without that. So.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. It's great. You'll read all about it in the review. We give it. I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it.
Yeah, no, we really loved it.
Yeah.
I mean,
moving on. We have set the party. We have all the players for the upcoming Space Tavern Games IKRPG,
which
I
really
will be DMing,
for.
and I opened my mouth last time you were on here, Dover, about
because we were
about Privateer Press feeling like they're shitting on us, saying that we can't run a good campaign. I'm going to show them that you can run a good campaign, and I'll give you a damn good story too. I will hold. You can mark my words. Anybody watching this, I will hold everybody watching to this. I'm going to give them a good story and a good game. So be on the lookout for that.
So what format is that going out in? Like, how are you guys presenting this?
We are live streaming using Roll20.net.
Yeah. Hey, Roll20! I was talking to a dev about doing some stuff in Roll20 or Tabletop Simulator on Monday. So yeah, that's awesome.
There's going to be some minor rule tweaks, but that's because it's not open measure or anything like that on Roll20. But we're going to figure it out, and then yeah, keep an eye out for that.
I might drink the tavern dry. It's happened before.
It has happened before. So that's all the STG stuff we have.
No, they had to carry my character into battle. Somehow I was able to roll a hit and kill like 3 guys. And then they carried me back.
Pat played a depressed alcoholic in the last campaign. Which isn't far from real life.
Oh, thanks, man.
Obviously kidding.
You see my flask?
What are you talking about, man? Anyway, that's all the STG stuff we had going on. So we're gonna throw it over to you, Dover.
Tell us about
what you got, what you got updates on your games and things like that. And we'll ask you questions this time.
Yeah, awesome. So I brought visual aids this time. Last time I just talked about it. Actually, I printed stuff this time. So we'll start small, work our way up. Talking about the artist, how we were mentioning earlier, having kind of a fresh artist that has never really published anything before. We've got a young lady out of Houston who is working on some art for us. It's very cute kid art for Cast and Capture, which is our kind of easier. It's our smaller fishing game. It's basically 2 decks of cards when it's all done. This is actually a stack of the entire game in its completion right there. So you can see that's not very many cards. But the art that she's working on for it is fantastic. I'm going to show a few of them here, so we're going to slideshow a little bit. I'm going to keep talking so it doesn't cut back to the other camera, and it's probably not going to show up very well on the camera, but we'll go ahead and give it a chance. So this is a kids, well, not really kids. It's a mix. It's a fishing game if you ever heard of one, like Casino. And basic idea is that it is a match game with a twisting element. If you can see that the cards kind of have a color on one side and a white on the other side. And the companion cards have the exact same thing. White on one side, color on the other side dominantly. Mm-hmm. The basic idea with the game is that it's a, like I said, it's a fishing game. If you've never heard one of those, the board is populated with things that need to be acquired, and your hand is populated with things that acquire them. In our game, it's going to be monsters and spells, and so your hand is comprised of these spells that are by themselves a power and an element. The board is populated with monsters that by themselves are, that one to show, are a power and an element, 10 and earth. And then so the simple part of the game is just a match game. You've got a 10 earth card, you want to pick up a 10 earth card, they match, you pick it up. The complexity of the game comes with the fishing elements and this twisting part. Everything can be broken apart. So if a card is 4 fire and another card is 2 water, you can break them apart and mix them together to either make a 2 fire spell or a 4 water spell. So you can kind of blend the stuff together. So you kind of have to make your mind change the way you look at things a little bit. because things start getting complex really fast. But it has this really nice ebb and flow. It goes pretty quickly. We've played it with people that are 60. We've played it with people that are or kids that are like 10, and they've all really had a good time and enjoyed it. So we're about 50% done with the artwork on it. We might have something up, cross fingers, during Q2 Kickstarter. So that could be in the cards for us. No real promises, but that's what we're shooting for.
Oh, that's really exciting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be the one that gets to you guys first, by the way. So as soon as I can get one in your hands, that one's going over to you, right there.
Go to Dairy Queen. Go to Dairy Queen.
I just have a massive amount of rules that I need to write. That's all. Well, I say massive. It's a pretty simple game, but actually writing rules is a pain in the rear. And here's the example for that. So this is Proelium, which is our big game. Like I said, we were moving up. I've got the rulebook on version 2.2. This is a pretty advanced rulebook for a board game, but it's one of those slow to learn but really easy to remember sort of rule sets. So it's kind of one of those, once you speak the language, the game moves really fast. We've got an artist now. We didn't last time we talked to you guys. We have an artist producing monster art for us. Actually, I think we did. Actually, we just barely hired our artist, and I tried to show you one, and it failed miserably because I stopped talking whenever I moved the camera over.
But I put the camera on you for the time being, so you don't have to worry about that now.
All right, cool. So, well, it doesn't hurt. I talk too much as it is, so it's like the camera will stay on me.
It was mine, really.
So we've got a couple pieces here. I printed off some. We've been taking them to the local game store and testing it out. So here's a couple of the monsters. Now this is true size. It's going to be a little hard to see, but these are 10 inch by 10 inch, so this is how big they're going to be in the box. They're just missing the game overlays. But this is our Hydra, if that is coming through okay. So we've got the Hydra here, and we've got our Goblin Warband.
They're gorgeous.
May or may not be coming through quite as well. A little bit darker. So these, if you can tell something by looking at these two, I'm going to kind of cover my face up, bring them back. There we go. So you can tell they're squares. That's one bit. You can also tell that they kind of have same things in the same places. So the heads on the top are similar to where the goblins are on this.
Yes.
And that's the entire point of the game. So the game itself, so I can reveal a little bit more now because we've done public playtesting and whatnot. But the game itself is based around the idea of monsters having, let me grab something, monsters taking up a certain amount of space and being, here we go, being divisible by that space. So this is harpies that we're working with. You can also tell. That's one of our prototype overlays over the top of it. So there's 9 squares over the top of that static image. Okay, and each one of those squares has a life total. They've got a name. They've got a monster type, and they've got these little boxes at the bottom, which you probably can't read, which is fine. They're going to change anyways. But these little boxes have basically AI coding in them. So when you're playing the game, everyone takes a turn with their weapons and their skills trying to beat the monster up, and then during the monster's turn, they use those AI codings to try to beat up the players. So where you're sitting, who you're sitting beside, who's the next person in the order of turn order, things like that, all of this will make a difference as to who the monster's hitting, who's taking the most damage. Is your tank taking the most damage? Is your healer getting messed up? Is someone with defensive abilities able to use them? Is your aggressive person not able to be aggressive? Things like that.
I'm really excited for this game now.
Say what?
He's really excited, is what he said.
Yeah. The monster cards, or the attack cards, I'm going to grab a few of the Battle Axe ones here so they're easy to show off. So remember how I said that there's 9 squares? The attack cards, this is the Battle Axe. The attack cards hit a specific area based on the weapons. So the Battle Axe has a lot of sweeping attacks. It hits the 3 squares in that part. This Battle Axe attack is a longer attack, but it hits still 3 squares, going those ones. And this is a different one hitting those squares. So that's the idea of the Battle Axe, is these long swooping attacks.
Right.
The bow hits 1 point for a lot of damage, but it doesn't. It's really hard to hit the right one because you need to make sure you got the right card. The wand hits 1 spot for a lot of damage, and some AoE damage around the side, things like that. So double daggers hit 2 spots instead of 3, and they're kind of weird and chaotic as you'd expect kind of a dagger fighter to be. So that's where we're at with this. We've been taking the prototypes over to the local game store here in DFW. Madness Games and Comics, if there's anyone who's watching who's in Texas, it's definitely a place you should check out. We tend to be there on Saturdays. and the response has been great. The response has been really positive. Lots of really, like, since the last time I talked with you guys, we've gotten quite a bit more playtesting in. And to say that we're encouraged by what people are saying is an understatement. I mean, it's really awesome, and it gets me totally psyched to talk about that. So that's I guess that's the fastest version on those two games that I have because I'm long-winded. Do you guys have any questions now, I guess?
How many different of the 10x10s are coming with each box?
Yeah, how many monsters around are you looking to have?
Right, so there's two different questions there. The base box that we're planning on selling, so the box you're going to get, is 6 classes, 6 weapons, and 18 monsters. So you're going to get 18 of those 10x10 mini boards, is what we're kind of calling them, because they act like a board game board because they go in the center of the table, but you're not interacting with them with pieces. They're static. Now, we do have grand aspirations of having additional classes coming out with additional weapons. We've already got expansion classes designed and built. And then we also have expansion monsters. So as we add things, like for example, the base game has poison. It has blessing and cursing and things like that, status effects that you can do to the monsters, or the monsters can do back to you. We want to add in new status effects like snares and bleeds and all sorts of crazy stuff. But we don't want to overwhelm the base game. We don't want to throw everything at someone at once. So we want to try to give the possibility of having expansions that can come out later, where maybe you get this class that can snare the monster, but at the same time that you get that class, we also release a monster set of 3 monsters that have monsters that will snare you back. So you can kind of pick those up and play with them. And our whole goal with this is that one of the big things, I don't have the thing in a printed form to show you, but have you guys seen the Pathfinder board game or card game?
I can't say I have.
No.
Okay. If there's other people that are watching that are familiar with board games, there's a good chance they'll know about this. But the Pathfinder box that you buy the Pathfinder game in is huge. I mean, it's huge. It's big. It's like 16 by 12 by 4. I mean, it's big. But the amount of content that comes with it only takes up about 1/10 of that box. But the point of the box is that every expansion for that game will fit inside of that box. So you don't have like a million little boxes lying around. That's what we're designing ours for too. The base box that you buy will be able to hold up to 6 class expansions and up to, what do we say, 10 or 6 monster expansions, all inside of one box that will be relatively small, 12 by 12 by 4, something like that. So something that'll fit on your shelf, about the size of a Dominion box, if you guys have ever heard of Dominion.
Yeah.
Something around that size. So we want to encourage people to be like, all right, if you want to pick up the expansions, they're cheap, they're small, they fit in what you've already got. You can bloat it up however much you want.
Yeah, it's a pre-planned space saver. I like it.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's cool. So I asked this question to Comrade last week. There's a lot of indie designers out there, and a lot of people just starting out that want to make the next big game.
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
So why don't you take us through the day in the life of a game designer?
Oh man,
9 to 5 job.
Well, I mean that's part of it, obviously.
Well, my buddy and I and my wife, who are kind of the 3 that are really working hardcore, we all have 9 to 5s. So you kind of have to cut that out, right? You know, so excluding the 9 to 5. Sometimes during my lunch hour, I'm running over to FedEx to print off things and use their paper cutter. But otherwise, it's kind of every day after work I go to the gym. It's kind of my unwind time, back by 6:30 or 7, and then from 7 until midnight, I am either working on social media, really getting on Board Game Geek and talking to other designers, or getting on Reddit Tabletop Design subreddit and talking to other designers, trying to help them, trying to see if they can help me. Cool thing about board games is it's a very, very cooperative space. So I'm either doing that, or I've got Photoshop up, and I'm really using my horrifically bad Photoshop skills to try to draft out cards. I'm actually working right now, besides these games, because now these games are kind of in the hands of artists, and they're making it look good. I'm actually prototyping a dinosaur game right now that I hope to have in playable state within the next month.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, see, everyone loves dinosaurs, and someone asked a question on BGDF, which if you guys are designers and you don't know about BGDF, you should check it out. It's bgdf.com. It's the Board Game Designers Forum. And someone asked a question on there about why aren't there more dinosaur games? And I answered the question. I said, or he said, could you come up with dinosaur game ideas? So I threw one at him, and then I realized something that someone was talking about, both in tabletop game design on subreddit, and also Kevin Smith, the director, if you know who he is.
I love him.
Right. Kevin Smith on his podcast said something when he was starting to work on his movie Tusk, which you may or may not like if you know anything about the movies, but he said, I want to see this movie, but no one's going to make this movie. If I want to see this movie, I got to make this movie. So I thought about that dinosaur game idea that I kind of spat out there, and I realized no one's probably going to make this idea. So if I want to play this game, I've got to make it. So right now I'm working on a slightly asynchronous dinosaur card game where... Hey, what's up? Thank you. That's my wife dropping off a soda. Wave to the camera.
Hi.
Hey.
No worries. So that's she's actually our CFO too, so she's the one that takes care of all the money. You might be talking to her sometime in the future. You never know.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of DMs and Random Encounters, and Pat is CEO of Drinking and Other Things. So
Those are good. Those are solid titles. I was happy to come up with CEO and creative director. Those are my titles. But I think I'd rather have drinker on there. I'm testing my Diet Coke to see if she put anything in it, but it's not spiked this time.
It's still in the can?
It's open. Sometimes she'll open it and she'll pour whiskey into it.
You need to text her and let her know she failed your drink.
I know. I'm gonna have to talk to her whenever we
You
get
have
off.
failed this beverage.
Actually, she's probably keeping all the whiskey for herself. My wife's the whiskey cooker. Okay, so anyways,
Not to sound weird or anything, but she follows us on Twitter, and I read that on her profile. So.
yeah, that's my girl. 14 years with her. I'm old. Anyways, so anyways, the end of that bit was the dinosaur game is. Figured I should try to take a stab at it. Asynchronous gameplay. Some people will be predators, some people will be herbivores, but the entire point of the game is to just live. It's a survival game. So there's going to be things like meteors and diseases and other predators trying to mess with you and kill you. And
G.
Yeah, so that's.
You should make an RPG.
Man, RPGs. That's a story for a whole other time. It's actually built in an
You roll a
RPG.
natural 1. You miss eating the grass and plant your face down and snap your neck and die.
you roll a
Kill
natural
you
one.
for a herbivore. That's awkward.
You roll a natural one. The meteor comes, you're all dead.
The meteor lands right on you.
Wait. In what situation are you rolling a critical failure that kills your entire party and the entire Earth along with your party? What were you trying to do?
Obviously, take over the world.
Apparently, like to get a crit on that, like you have to be. I'm rolling my d20 to.
I became a dinosaur scientist.
You fell
and I
over.
was advancing my race.
They fell over, knocked the Earth out of the orbit enough that the meteor was sucked into the Earth's orbit and brought right to the Earth,
Gravitational
landing right
field.
on top of you.
All right, if there's any artist out there, I want you to draw the dinosaur big enough to knock the Earth out of orbit, because that would be hilarious.
Well, see, he fell over right on the fault line.
Oh, right, yeah. San Andreas, he's the new movie.
There's a lot of minor things that happen.
Chain of events following
Chain of
this.
events. It all came down to you falling over.
Effing nat ones, man.
Anyway, back to where we were.
You reach out to try to bite the other dinosaur in the neck. You end up licking it.
You're both uncomfortable.
It tries to run away.
You run after it, apologize. Roll a natural one. You've tackled it.
And impaled yourself on its spine.
All right, never mind.
Anyway, back to what. Okay,
We can go on.
So, now that we've completely jumped off the track.
Well, we were on track.
We jumped.
Do you have any advice for those out there who's trying to get
I was
games?
going to ask that question.
Jesus Christ. Railroading
SOB.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Pat, do you want to ask the next question?
Do you really mean it?
Yeah.
All right, I'll ask the next question. So, do you have any advice for any designers and developers out there that are just getting started?
That broad of a question. That's a broad question. Yes.
I like broad questions.
It's a huge question with lots of very, very serious answers, but I'll give a fast one. One piece of advice, and this is something that I'm going to give to everyone, and no one's going to believe me. If there's anyone listening who's a designer or an indie dev, and you haven't already learned this, you're not going to believe me, but trust me on this. Your idea is not amazing enough for someone else to see. So do not worry about telling other people about it. This is a very hard thing for a lot of designers to understand. Everyone wants to be secretive. They want to hold their stuff in. They want to wait until it gets to such a point. I did the exact same thing. I wanted to not talk about this or not talk about that because I was afraid of someone taking it and getting ahead of me. But here's the fact. Making a game is way more work than you realize. It's way more work than some people that have actually published games realize. It is a ton of work. And no one is going to steal your game because if they want to put that much work into it, they probably have their own idea that they want to do. There's just not enough money in the board game space for someone to snipe you and run away with your idea and make their millions and leave you in the dust. It's not going to happen. This is an industry of passion. This is an industry of effort and integrity and putting your effort in. And so if you have an idea, share it. Tell the world. Shout it from the hilltops. Get as much advice as you can from other developers and other players and make it the best thing you can. And do not hide it because it's not worth it in the long run. So that would be my number one.
Make your game more than you want to make your game.
No one does. Yeah, it's a simple fact. And I spent, like, I didn't talk about my game to anyone except for a very small cloister of friends for a year and a half. And that's a year and a half that I could have been getting amazingly awesome feedback on. And I think about how much further along, how far I've come just in talking to other devs over the course of the last 6 months that I could have already been ahead of the game. And that's a lot of lost time that I'm not going to get back. So that would be the number one bit. Go talk about it and learn and share. And one caveat on that. If you're going to ask other people for help, be like the guys at Space Tavern. If you're going to ask for help, then provide help to someone else. You have to do both. This is a give and take, right? So if you're going to ask for help, at the same time, offer assistance. So help one person before you ask for help yourself. That's what you should always do.
We're offering a bunch of help now because we're going to be asking for a bunch of help in the future. So.
Right. I mean, that's one of the things. You guys obviously found an awesome artist, but you had talked to me a little while ago about if I knew any artists. You had pinged me my direction. I didn't really have anyone at the time, but I found someone who I did and possibly kick the name in your direction. But the point is that the connections that we make, whether it be in players or whether it be in other devs or something like that, if you help someone out, they're going to give you a hand later. And maybe it's a hand that you really needed, maybe it's a hand that you didn't need, but they will be there to offer it because it's positive. So just do it. Just help.
Well, our artist is totally fine with us dropping her name. It's Caslin Taylor. She's out of Fort Myers, Florida. She's really, really gifted, and that's what really drew us into asking her, would you do some work for us, and we'll put your name out there. So
that was a double entendre. Like that was purposeful. That pun was there on purpose, right? Drew us. Okay, just checking, making sure. And do you guys have any examples? Like, has she produced any work for you that you put up on the site that I've missed?
Sketches right now. And as soon as they're available, we'll more than likely have them out for people to look at.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be posted.
She sent us some like early sketch stuff that she's been working on, and it looks awesome.
Yeah, just like a archetype ranger type character from. I told her to base it off of some steampunk and Lord of the Rings type high fantasy stuff, and
that is a hell of a combination.
It's awesome. And the dragon she drew, I think I can pull that real quick. Yeah. I'm not sure how we can show it.
Send it to me, then we'll figure out how to do it.
Actually, I'll fill the dead air while you're doing that. The idea of steampunk and elf in particular, I was talking to an artist friend of mine a while back about designing a steampunk archer where basically the bow is made out of metal, something so rigid that no human could pull it back, but then having brass accents that were attached to like a steam-powered backpack, so the hydraulics would pull the arm back to be able to actually fire a bow with like a 700-pound draw weight or some crazy stuff like that. So that's a neat idea. I love that kind of convergence.
I just sent one to you.
Okay, I know how to do it. So I just need to
Facebook.
book face.
Yeah.
Actually, while you guys are looking for that, if I can find it,
Hot diggity damn.
this is a sketch that an artist friend did for me of just that thing. It's hard to see from this angle, but that is an archer who has, it's a steampunk archer. There's a backpack, which is over here. It's got hydraulics actually pulling it back.
What's the draw weight of that bow? Did you ever work out the actual science of it? Or?
I did not. In the magical way that I had it in my brain, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 240 pounds or something like that.
That's really awesome.
But that would be neat, actually. I'd like to actually do the science and figure out what the best draw weight would be.
Hit me up. I'll work it out for
So
you.
this is the sketch that Pat just sent over to me that she's done.
Whoa!
Yeah. Yeah.
The fine work on those scales. That is, I know what goes into drawing. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
She did that with just pencils and paper.
Yeah.
How long did it take to do the shading and the individual scale work on that thing?
I did that in about 3 hours.
No way.
Yeah. Yep. She made a video of her drawing it and cranked it out.
And you're gonna put that video up on YouTube, on your YouTube channel, right?
I don't know if she'll let me. I have to get it from her. She showed it to us, but
Man, you need to get permission from her to do that, because that is ridiculous.
I would love to throw it up. I would throw it up in a heartbeat.
Yeah. She's crazy, and like a good kind of crazy.
Great kind of crazy.
So yeah. So that she's the artist we've happened on, I guess. So moving forward, our next thing to talk about is PAX. That just happened.
In Boston?
In Boston. Unfortunately, we couldn't be there because of other reasons.
We had things to do.
Things to do.
The Patrick and Tyler Moving Company was busy that weekend.
Yeah, it's also an expensive endeavor to go to Boston. So,
why'd you want to play college hockey?
Yeah, why'd you want to play college hockey? Anyway, so I found some of a list of news that has come out, like big news. It seems to be a lot of video games. The only board game news I really found was that the game Orcs Must Die, All Orcs Must Die, or something. I forget what the exact title is called.
Orcs Must Die.
Orcs Must Die. It's
title.
getting its own board game, which I imagine to be very fun. A bunch of friends sitting around and stabbing each other, or stabbing orcs and stuff.
Who doesn't like to stab orcs, man?
What I was really excited about is that Gearbox, the developers of Brothers in Arms, are like, we want to make another Brothers in Arms game. And, you know, I'm a big fan of the series, so to see another Brothers in Arms game.
There was a Brothers in Arms game. I think it was Airborne. I absolutely hated it. I mean, it was just horrible. I think that's the game I'm talking
Are you
about.
thinking of Medal of Honor, maybe?
No,
Okay.
no, I hate Call of Duty games. I can't stand Call of Duty games.
Call of Duty 4 was the best. Was my last.
I
time
like
played
Call of Duty 4, but everything after that is just the same game over and over again on the same engine. I mean, come on, people.
And even Halo's getting in on that, you know.
Yeah, the Master Chief's back. Oh gosh.
And their online is not their online anymore. But anyway, so that's what I'm really excited about.
You know, I'm psyched for most anything that Gearbox does. I'm still a fan of theirs.
I'm not saying I don't like Brothers in Arms. I'm just saying there's one of them that I just absolutely hated. I was so mad that I spent $50 on it.
What you were saying, Dover?
Sorry.
Fan of Gearbox?
I mean, they're actually located in Plano, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from my house over here in the DFW area. I actually applied to them at one point in time because I like the stuff they do so much. I love the Borderlands series. I mean, Gearbox is quality. I never actually got into the Brothers in Arms games, I should say, because it's a ridiculous series. What is there, like 11 games or something in the series?
Something. There's a ton of them.
But it's I don't know. I'm kind of psyched whenever I hear anything from a big studio that I like, but at the same time, I guess I'm always a little apprehensive about getting the same thing over and over again. Like, there needs to be some new blood that's infused into it, but at the same time keep relatively true to what the original idea was. Like, some people are not fans, but I think Borderlands 2 was a perfect example of this. They kept the idea of Borderlands 1, and they took it a slightly different direction in regards to the humor, but for the most part, it still kept a really solid game in there that I really enjoyed playing. So, hopefully the studio that, if it's the same devs that are working on it, you kind of have to expect the same type of quality. It's when it gets passed off to someone else that you start to see things go downhill. Or revitalize. I mean, sometimes I wouldn't bet the farm on it.
Though, however, it looks like there is going to be an actual good free-to-play game coming out. And it doesn't look like it's going to be freemium.
That would be absolutely amazing.
I would play that, actually. Did you say it's an MMO? Yeah.
Okay, so here's my thing about MMOs.
It's
they
kind of
always
our thing.
burn out. They always burn out after a
Like
while.
Knights of the...
Or not, the Old Republic.
Yeah, sorry. The Old Republic,
That's where my lineage comes from. I was managing editor on the largest fan site following the Old Republic.
Really?
So if anyone's ever heard of Darth Vader, if you were ever following the Old Republic, back in the day, I was Dover managing editor of Darth Vader's site. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I got burned out on that game really quick.
I don't like when games advertise themselves as being free, and then when you reach a certain level, you play at less experience than somebody
Half
pays.
experience, and you have to start paying a subscription.
I mean,
the subscription was cheap.
Here's the thing. I understand that you need to make money, and I understand that you should pay for things. But you can limit my armor, limit my weapons, limit anything else. Do not limit my XP. Because that is the most frustrating thing in the entire plan.
Oh, yeah.
That is what I say about MMOs.
I need to stay away from MMOs that are free to play in general. I'm about to break that rule because I went ahead and kickstarted Crowfall because there's a lot of friends of mine that I met in the DH days that are jumping on the Crowfall bandwagon, if you've ever heard of that. But so that'll be my free to play that I'm actually probably getting into again whenever it actually releases, assuming it launches. You never know with the Kickstarter stuff. But that's I don't know. I understand. I'm kind of scared of. I kind of stay away from those. Ironically, unless they're Asian. Like, I played some free-to-play Korean MMOs, and as long as you don't mind having no clue what's going on 90% of the time, they tend to be fun.
Don't speak this language, but
Oh well.
Hey, most of them have really, really crappy English translations. I mean, it's really poorly done.
But hey, well,
throw rock
the good thing
at
about
window.
most MMOs is that
Break window.
go do the thing. Did you do the thing? Here's the XP.
Pretty much.
Okay. Next bit of news. Flames of War is having some new stuff come out in the future.
Yay!
What they have planned, it looks like. They're going to.
He doesn't know.
I'm reading the review or the thing that came out on Tabletop Gaming News. So they're talking about fights at the Mekong River, Germany's borders, and Berlin. I guess they're moving deeper into the war. I don't know any Flames of War players. I haven't found a Flames of War community near me in the places that I've lived. But I hear it's a pretty solid game.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've never been into it myself, but there's a miniatures place out here in the Grapevine area of Texas that has a lot of Flames of War players. I mean, I have to assume they do because they've got more Flames of War merch on their wall, or they did last time I was in there, than they had War Machine or Warhammer or anything else. Flames of War was like at least 50 to 60% of their wall, which, I mean, you don't have a wall like that unless you got finished buying it up.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the biggest games that I'm excited about that I'm going to jump on soon is there's a game coming out called Pro Wrestling Battle Royale. Except it's spelled Pro Wrestling, so it's Pro Wrestling Battle Royale. It's going to go up with Kickstarter, I think so, maybe it's out on Kickstarter now. Yeah, they launched. It's a wrestling card play game. Alright, so they say Pro Wrestling Battle Royale is a frantic card game bringing all the thrills and spills of the squared circle into the palm of your hand. Requires hand management, sneaky backstabbing, and trash talking in equal measure. as a fan of pro wrestling, I haven't followed recently because of other reasons, but I'm pretty excited about this game. I think we should try to get that and review it.
Man, you weren't joking about wrestling.
Yeah.
You wrestling
Battle Royale.
Yeah.
So that's a game I'm excited about.
I will try to go into this with no bias whatsoever, but I can't promise anything, Tyler. Like, I know you're all about it and everything, but I am sorry, man. I cannot get into the man soap opera.
I want a video. A cold video of you guys playing this together with no warm-up whatsoever, just to see the complete and total dismay on your face while you're trying to figure this out. Like, that needs to happen.
Oh, you'll see it. I can't hide my emotions.
So that's the big news we found for the week.
And
Unless you have some.
before we close up here and do our questions, my original spicy chicken sandwich from Burger King is gone.
I was waiting for you.
Let us softly mourn.
Oh, did you have like soft?
I went to Burger King today to order my sandwich, and I was kindly informed that they don't have it anymore. I mean, come on, guys. You've had this sandwich forever. Why? Why would you take this from me? And I will say this about this taste bud masterpiece. I will miss the way you softly warmed my taste buds, followed by the crispy crunch of your lettuce and the lubrication your mayonnaise provided.
Anything else you would like to add?
And I'll miss the way you filled me up.
And with that, we say goodbye to you,
Spicy chicken sandwich. Okay, let's get to our questions.
Appreciate the moment of silence.
Okay.
As you lubricated my throat.
Our first one is need advice for dealing with that guy, quote unquote.
Set him aside, talk to him one-on-one, you know. Oh, by the way, that guy, guess we should define who that guy is. I know that guy. I mean, I've been that guy once or twice. He's kind of the ass clown at the table during the RPG session. Am I on the right footing here?
Yes, you are.
You know, doesn't really get crap done. I mean, there's always a time and place to screw around in the RPG, but, I mean, you can't constantly be screwing around. I mean, your friends are there to kill things and have fun, too. I mean, you just can't be a glory hog and make it all about you and what you think is funny. So, I mean, first things first, you know, take him aside, talk to him one-on-one, be like, hey, I know you think we're all having fun too, but I mean, you gotta dial it back a little. I mean, be respectful, be nice about it. Now, if it continues after that, I mean, take it to the DM. I mean, if the DM hasn't already taken him aside as well and talking to him at that point, then you could just text him one night and be like, hey, half the party died on the way over to our house, so we're canceling the RPG. But don't really cancel it, just whatever.
Yeah, if he's a dick, throw him out. That's.
I mean, give him a chance.
I mean, you give him a chance to turn around, but if he's still a dick, throw him out. That's fine. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, here's an interesting one. Tips for running a World War I RPG. Anybody familiar with World War I? Trenches, 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 and more trenches. I would suggest, my best suggestion would be, you gotta really focus on how mentally fucked up World War I was. The psychology of just people being mowed down in waves and waves and waves in front of you, and you're surviving for some reason.
Well, I mean, that's one of the tricks is that if you're talking about from an RPG perspective, is getting that getting your players to feel, if you're DMing this, GMing this, getting your players to understand what it would be like to peek over the top of a trench and see every single person. Like maybe spend the beginning of your session building NPC relationships with the PCs, building up these other characters, these collateral characters, getting people to understand, you know, this guy is the alcoholic, and this guy is the funny cut-up, you know, all these other characters. And in the very first battle, have them be in the platoon or the squad that gets called up to run out of the trench and have every one of the NPCs die. Or killed, every single one of them. Build an emotional attachment and have them see how easily they were wiped out. Get that feeling of trench warfare really scaring your players. That would be a good way to start assembling World 1.
Call of Cthulhu comes to mind, where everybody has a sanity skill.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's too. I mean, yeah. I mean, that if you've never seen that picture of the, if you look up, I don't know, you probably find this in Google image search, but World War I shell shock. There's a picture of a guy in a trench who just has the craziest eyes, and you see that PTSD that they didn't know existed at the time, just completely set in 100% while he's still in the field, and it's ridiculous. So you want to try to get your players to understand, maybe not be there, but understand what that meant.
Yeah, they called it soldier's heart before PTSD and a few other terms, but yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, the World War I was not pretty at all, which I guess is why it's not a very common setting for many games or tabletops or anything like that. Because it's just nasty.
Great War.
Yeah, great my foot. Dover, you talked about using Tabletop Simulator, so can you give us? Well, actually, I'll share this real quick. You can share it with me. Here's the picture.
Yep.
That's absolutely horrifying. I'm probably not going to sleep tonight. So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's terrifying. So can you tell us a little bit about Tabletop Simulator? I saw the Steam page for it.
Yeah, and didn't you launch it for a little bit, and you were messing with it, and I was watching, and it looks really interesting.
So you want to give us a little bit more overview on it? How?
Well,
Need a drink.
The simple version of it is that it's similar to, from what I understand, it's similar to Gary's mod in the sense that it's an open source engine you can interact with to be able to bring in whatever assets you want to. So if you want to play poker, you can play poker. If you want to play Cards Against Humanity, you can play Cards Against Humanity. And there's a lot of devs, indie devs, that are working on virtualizing their actual play experience to actually put the game that they're making into that simulator and then release that out to the masses to do mass testing to get people to actually play their game and see how it goes. I've not actually done that myself, but that seems like a really interesting idea, and I'd be curious to see. Like I was talking with a web dev on Monday, a friend of a friend, and we're in the process of trying to work out some digital assets towards the games we're working on. And one of the avenues we're exploring is Tabletop Simulator. So, for example, there's a lot of things that I'm not sending prototypes out to people because I want them to look a certain quality, I want to get to a certain level ubiquitously across the board. I would be much more comfortable with that, with throwing the temp assets that I have in a tabletop sim, where they're not physical. Like, I don't have to worry about mailing them. I can send you an address, or I can mail you a mod pack, like that, and you throw it up in there, and then you're able to play the game virtually. And more importantly, you're able to play the virtually with me, perchance. Like, if I want to actually be here, or I can be a spectator and watch you doing it. So, to try to kind of learn from it. So, it seems like a really interesting avenue, and I think that in the future, you're going to see that being used a lot more in general. You know, people don't want to leave their house; they've got the internet. But if they want to have a board game night and they're trying to be any social, you can let them do that. They can actually physically simulate that environment. So it's a unique direction.
It seems really useful for, especially for people who like have moved or anything. Like a lot of my friends from high school, we've all moved to different locations, and it seems like something useful to get back together. And
a lot of people. I mean, I'm really far away from anyone I ever went to high school with.
Well, I mean, for me, it was mostly college friends. I mean, they still live in Texas, but Texas is gigantic, and we can't drive 5 hours to go meet up with to have a game night. So, but throwing them on Tabletop Simulator, everyone has Steam.
So, hey, I'm going to Steve's house, but Steve's like 8 hours away. I know. I'll be back later. I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems like it's got some use. As long as it doesn't, I just hope it's not cumbersome. You know what I mean? That's my thing is fear. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it, but hopefully I'll know a lot more soon.
Oh, April 11th. So far, Mike Get It Gilmer did respond to our challenge, so we're excited for that.
Yeah, we finally have Mike Gilmer.
Mike Get It Gilmer.
Mike Get It Gilmer, Space Tavern's number one space drinking specialist. He'll finally be here to probably stop us.
Throw down
the gauntlets.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. That'll be National Tabletop Day. So
we're live streaming all day.
We're gonna be live streaming that.
That's fantastic.
A couple other questions. How to handle a player character out with a long-lasting injury? Well, there's a couple things you can do.
Like what? Like blown off or something?
Like, say you and I we got into a big fight with the big bad guy. Not the big bad guy, but one of the big bad guys. And I got beat up so bad that I broke a bunch of my ribs, like maybe an arm, a leg, that kind of thing. We're the part where you're going to be incapacitated for a while and it takes a long recovery. There's a couple of things I think you can do with that. One is have your player roll another character. Two is you have to do some fun side things with them, I would think. Like
make some side quests.
Little fun side quests, like getting up and going to the meat larder or the fridge, depending on what setting you're in, would be an adventure in itself with somebody who has broken half of their body.
I get up, I don't even see the couch, and I fall over it. Thanks, John Madden.
I think, are we going from the direction of the actual physical person being messed up, not the character?
No, the character being messed up.
Oh, the character itself. Man, that's rough. Yeah, I don't know about that. With player, there's a lot of easier ways to do it, like the Disney princess thing. You know, you make them Sleeping Beauty, or you make them an abductee, or you make them something like that, so the game for type. But play with the character. You could do psychological. You could make it be like
You're fighting madness.
Yeah, like put them in their own brain. Put them in a comatose state where they have to go on some sort of crazy, like tripped out. It doesn't matter what game you're playing either. Like you could make it as fantastical as you wanted to within the parameters of the game system, and just have them locked in some sort of psychological state. They're doing their quest in some crazy level of insanity, while everyone else in the other world is just waiting for them to wake up from a coma.
I had a friend once who wrote a short story for our creative writing class about a guy who was in a car accident and went into a coma, but his coma was this fantasy realm where he had to get to the other end in order to get out of the coma. So, I mean, you could do something like that. That would also be pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. Oh, there you go. What's your favorite trap or puzzle that you've encountered in a dungeon?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
I had to think of this one for a second. Oh, here's one. Playing a campaign. It's a homebrew system. World War V.
Oh, okay.
This is before you joined it.
Well, it's the same one, isn't it?
Yeah. We were fighting in Manila, liberating Manila. So we clear the city. We get to this bank where the final showdown happened. And we beat the commander or whatever. My friend is like walking around the room. We had some hard times getting to where we were, and he was finally happy, so he's cleared. He opens up a door that leads to a tunnel and just fire blast. Just out of nowhere. It was just like picture just like a essentially a
house is on fire. You bust out the window. The flames suck out the oxygen.
Yeah, coal shoot. It was just essentially like the door was just coal shoot. You just whoosh, and it was great because none of us expected it. I think that was my favorite trap thing I've encountered.
Same RPG. We just taken this mountain base, like subterranean base, overlooking this city on some island I've never heard of, and all of a sudden, the city with the rest of my army in it just goes up in a, I guess a Moab. Yeah, it was a Moab. Just detonated and eliminated the entire town. So that was
Another one from that campaign.
there's a lot in this campaign.
We were fighting on an island, and I had landed and made the declaration that if you don't surrender, then we're going to completely wipe you out. I was backed by a bunch of large battleships and destroyers and aircraft carriers. And as soon as this is for you. As soon as I declared these things, all of those were sunk by submarines behind me.
Oh, okay. This is Ascension Part 1.
Yeah, yeah.
Ascension Part 2 went really well.
Yeah, what about you, Dover? Any that you can remember?
Mine's actually a puzzle, not a trap. It was to go into a dungeon and remove an orb, and the orb was in the center, on a pedestal in the center of a room. And the trick with the orb was it couldn't be removed from the room unless the biological entity that picked it up was already outside of the room whenever it picked it up. So like you had to pick it up with like a hand had to touch it, not a gloved hand, not a hook, not anything. It couldn't be removed except for with the glove with biology. But you couldn't remove it from you could pick it up, but it would stop. It would not leave the room unless it was picked up from the pedestal by the person who was already outside of the room. So like portable hole situation was what we thought, and or some sort of other weird dimension shifting garbage. And it turns out the whole trick was biological. All that we had to do was get the entire party to hold hands so that someone was outside of the room, and then the chain of monkeys that led all the way in could pick it up, and they would consider it to be outside of the room. So it was a silly, simple answer to what we thought was a massive, complex, magical puzzle. So I think that's the stuff that I like to mention.
Always the simplest way out. Just a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap it up for the night. Favorite role or class to play?
Well, mine's Ranger.
Yeah, yours is Ranger. I'm torn. I used to be just Ranger, like long distance bow shots, but I think Sorcerer has become my favorite class.
Really?
To play.
Sorcerer?
Yeah, Sorcerer. Just freaking flinging fireballs at people. That's awesome.
Bard would be my second favorite.
Bard is my second favorite as well.
Mine's 100% Ranger. At least it always was. I don't know what it is about Ranger.
Aragorn, dude.
It's the longest shot. Like it's just the ability to send an arrow, God knows how far down range, and drop someone before they even see you. That's what I always loved. Now that changed a little bit with MMOs because I'd always try to play the Archer, and they were never as awesome in the game as they were whenever I played them pen and paper. So with that, I started leaning to a defender role. Heaviest armor, the biggest shield, very tanky, sort of paladin even in D&D, stuff like that. So that's a little bit of a shift, but my gut reaction is still to say Ranger.
Well, see, what I love, what spawned my love for the Ranger was when I read Lord of the Rings for the first time. I mean, Aragorn, he's great with a bow, and he's great with a sword. I mean, he can switch back and forth. It doesn't exactly translate as well to pen and paper, but that's still, like, the main reason I play a Ranger.
Mine's from a book, too. Mine's actually Annis Half-Elven Dragonlance series.
Okay.
Mine actually comes from my original love for the Ranger came from Green Arrow and Robin Hood because they're my two favorite characters of that. My love for sorcery actually came from a book series actually written by the same people that did Dragonlance called the Deathgate Cycle.
Yeah.
Is that the one you got me reading now?
Yeah. That's the one I've got him.
They're amazing.
So then, seriously, greatest 7-book series I've ever read. Beats Harry Potter or anything else like that. To kind of go on the opposite side of that, what class party role won't you play as? Me? Well,
I'll start this one off. I really hate being the healer. Like I have one healer character that I enjoyed playing because it was a really interesting scenario. But that's it. Like I've only enjoyed it in one game. I've never enjoyed being a healer in any other game. I mean, even playing Rangers in D&D, even though you got healing spells as you got higher level, I rarely ever used them. So mine was, don't make me the healer.
I recently actually healer was mine that I wouldn't play, but I'm in a campaign with a group that's set in the Aliens universe, and I decided to be the medic to challenge myself, and it's awesome because I get to heal everybody. But it sucks because I suck at everything else.
I don't know.
think
I hate being. I also hate like as far as party role goes. I hate being the character who's like not a strong character. I hate not being like a leader type character or a character with strong leadership skills.
yeah, leadership. I don't think there's a character I won't play that I won't like find a way to have fun with it.
Who's your least favorite?
Paladin. Just I don't know.
Divine tanks. I'm just not a fan.
I mean, I think paladins are great, and it's just not something I want to be. You know, tank in general, I guess. I like being a specialist in a certain type of weapon and being really good at it, not just being like, all right, come hit me, see if I feel it. And I'll kill you before you can kill me. I mean, obviously you want to kill your enemies before, but.
All right. So that's all we got on this end tonight for at the tavern. You have any final closing thoughts, Dover?
Thanks for having me on. I do actually promise to get you guys some stuff as soon as prototypes are up to my standards.
I love stuff.
Yeah.
We have stuff to do.
We do.
But nothing else. I mean, awesome. I enjoy seeing the stuff that you guys come up with. I enjoy the podcast when I'm able to catch it. Like I mentioned earlier, indie dev, it's a busy life. But awesome. That's it. Thanks for having me on. Really quick shout out. I'll plug stuff. If you guys are out there, you can catch me at Randover Games at Twitter or at www.randovergames.com, or just jump on the tabletop game design subreddit. I'm kind of always on there.
Cool.
And how about it? Next episode 12, you coming back?
I'll be there. You guys want me on as long as I'm in town, because we're end of Q1, beginning of Q2. Randover Games is going to be very busy going to cons, but Tuesdays are pretty good to catch me. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, we figured Tuesday was like the day of the week that no one had anything going on. It'd be the easiest to get people to come on.
Very
works out best with the schedule.
Yeah. So that's it for this week of At the Tavern.
Again, I'm Patrick.
I'm Tyler.
And
I'm Dover.
So
we'll see you on the other end of the keg.
Yep.